Hello, and welcome to Monday Zoom. I have a little better lighting this time and a little better setting, I think, too. Didn't want you to get distracted, though. Try to keep your focus. I have two lessons to give you, and I'll try to dispense with all the chit chat and just try to get to it, stay focused. I do want to remind you that today is the day you turn in your Edificationer's Guide. I'm taping this Sunday night. I hope it's not raining tomorrow. I do have definitive news now on the test. The AP test is going to be on May 20th. It's really late. It's going to be 11 in the morning, and you take it at home. You write one essay. So that's really good news. It's a rhetorical strategies essay or a rhetorical analysis essay. And we're going to plan for that starting right now. And this isn't going to be so bad because you were going to write 3 essays, and now it's just 1. Yeah, we'll have more details about that. You get 45 minutes to write. You'll be at home, and then you get 5 minutes to submit it. And we've got a few weeks to really hone in on that. Okay, so I have 2 lessons, and I'm going to go to the screen share pretty soon. I want to talk about types of sentences. You know, when you take this test, you can talk about your prompt in a totality, the general wholeness of it. And then you can get down to the micro things like diction and talk about words, specific words. And then in between that, you might want to talk about sentences, paragraphs and sentences. So I thought we would talk about sentences. I'm going to take you through quickly different ways of describing sentences. Here we go. Don't think I need that anymore. Okay, so one thing you see often are types of sentences, and they usually talk about these 4. Declarative is a statement. Interrogative is a question. Imperative is a command. And exclamatory, exclamation. I don't usually talk about these too much. I don't think you get the variety in a prose piece, and that's what you're going to be analyzing is a prose piece, but it's kind of nice to know it. And maybe if there's an exclamation, you want to say something about that. But I prefer to go to the second group, the structure of sentences. So that's B. Simple sentence. Okay, a compound sentence is just when you have 2 independent clauses connected with a conjunction. They could stand on their own, but they are connected. Complex sentence is when you have 1 independent clause and then you have something else attached to it, a clause that is subordinate or dependent on that. And then a compound complex is just what it sounds like. It's the most sophisticated of the 4. It's got 4 parts to it often. I will send you this link, and you can kind of look over it more carefully. I think you've probably talked about sentences in the past that way. Then I wanted to introduce you to another way of talking about sentences with the Crazy for the Storm packet. And we talked about, or at least you read about, periodic, loose, and a balanced sentence. Do you remember? So a periodic sentence is one where the independent clause or the kernel or the gist of the idea comes at the end of the sentence. And what precedes that are some introductory phrases like participial phrases, ing endings or gerund phrases. And they kind of build some suspense because you're wondering what it's all leading up to. The author of the piece I gave you, he was suggested that this is becoming a little more rare. It was used more often. I'm not really totally sure about that, but he probably has a point. It takes a little more craft to write this, to think about it when you are writing. And maybe people just don't have the time to do that. So the loose sentence or the cumulative, I always call it the loose sentence, is just the opposite. So that's when the subject and the predicate are at the beginning, and then you tack on a lot of phrases or clauses, adjectives at the end. And then the balanced sentence is usually it's back up here to a compound sentence. It's often two ideas that are balanced equally in words and also in the idea itself. Sometimes they're opposing, that's more of the antithesis, and they're often connected with conjunction and, but maybe not. It might not be that way. Then there's also the interrupted sentence. You know that that's my favorite one. So you're going along and you have to just interrupt the sentence right there. And it can be set off with commas or parentheses or dashes. Finally, there's maybe a rare kind that has three parts to it. And that's called the tricolon. So a phrase like I came, I saw, I conquered. Sometimes there are semicolons in between that connect them. And you see that more in kind of elegant speech making. The prompt that you will read will not be poetry. It won't be verse. It will be prose. But there might be some poetic structures in the prose. So I just kind of threw a few of those in. There are more, but anaphora is when you have the first word of each sentence or of each clause that's repeated. Again, in speeches, you probably have more poetry that makes the speech more memorable. Antithesis is like two opposing ideas in the same sentence. Alliteration, I weep and walk through endless ways of thought. That's Jocasta, makes it memorable. So if you see something like this, a rhetorical question doesn't need an answer. Sometimes you have an inverted sentence. The subject, verb, object is switched around like the way Yoda talks. Or declamatory is kind of that speech making in drama. Okay, that's all I want to say for that right now. You really may not even have to mention sentence types in your essay, but you might see something that just strikes a memory for you of this sheet. And so it's a good thing to review them. All right, let's get rid of that. Now we're going to look at a prompt. And after this, you have a chance to go watch a YouTube video, to watch a professional AP teacher take you through this prompt. It's one that was suggested to us, and I started watching. I watched about 5 minutes and then I stopped. I think she's really good. She has to be good. I don't know. Her name is Emily or something. And usually a lot of people want to get on these committees for the AP Central, and so you know that it's difficult. So I'm sure she's quite good, but I didn't want her to influence my reading of the prompt. So it is a letter that we're going to look at. It's a letter from Abigail Adams to her son, John Quincy Adams, who later becomes the president. And I think it's a interesting letter. So I'm going to take you through it the way I would do it. And then I'm going to watch what she says also about it. And then we'll have to kind of rectify the two methods. I'm going to show you my method, and she's going to take you through her method. So it's a letter that I hadn't read before, and I thought I would just go through it. And I do want to think about the sentence types a little bit too as we go through it. Okay, I think you should pause your video right now and then read the letter. And then this is the end of part 1. And then you're going to have to go to the next link. And then I'm going to take you through the letter and mark it up a little bit and show you how I interpret it. Okay, so make sure you go to part 2, coming right up.